Hey there, hockey fans. You know me. I'm Nick Hart, and I know that you, like me, are absolutely thrilled to know that NHL hockey is back. After months without a resolution to the 2019-20 season, we are getting an unprecedented summer tournament to crown a 2020 Stanley Cup champion. Perhaps just more importantly, we're going to get to watch some watch some hockey after months after the game was just unceremoniously ripped away from us. I'm pumped. I mean, you can see by the t-shirt repping Canada right now, which is where all the hockey that we can see for the foreseeable future is going to take place. I'm excited. You're excited. But maybe you're also a little confused. What is going on here? After all, this is uncharted territory for hockey fans. I mean, uncharted territory for sports in general. And that brings me to why I'm here. Thank you for tuning in, folks, on our Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins social media pages. I am here to answer your questions. All of us here at the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins are happy to bring to you our Return to Play online special, where I am going to regale you with all of the details that you need to know before the NHL's postseason begins this upcoming weekend. If you're one of those folks who's wondering, how in the heck is this going to work? Or who's involved? How can I watch? When can I watch? Or even, what does all of this mean for the Penguins? Fear not, ladies and gentlemen. We have answers to these FAQs. So without further ado, let's jump right in and start by explaining what this tournament is going to look like. Now, after carefully testing and monitoring for COVID-19, the NHL and its member clubs went through 3 different phases of their return to play protocol, culminating in what is now considered Phase 4. And Phase 4 is this 24-team tournament that is about to unfold for the Stanley Cup. These 24 teams that have qualified for the postseason have been split into 2 different hub cities up in Canada, Edmonton for the Western Conference teams and Toronto for the Eastern Conference teams, the latter of which is where Pittsburgh will be. And the way the NHL has organized this is not everyone is necessarily created equal right out of the gate, okay? If you were a top 4 team in your conference going into the stoppage back in March, you've sort of been gifted a bye right into the first round of the official Stanley Cup playoffs. Those top 4 teams from the East and top 4 teams from the West will play against one another in sort of a round-robin stage to determine seeding ongoing for the playoffs. So even though the Boston Bruins had the best record in the NHL during the regular season, they might end up with the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference if they can't manage to defeat Tampa Bay, Washington, and Philadelphia during that round-robin stage. Same thing goes for the Western Conference. St. Louis will play Colorado, Vegas, and Dallas in sort of a round to determine seeding, but all in all, they have automatically qualified for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now you look at the teams that didn't necessarily finish top 4, but are among the 24 teams that got invited into the bubble, Toronto or Edmonton. Here's where things get spicy, ladies and gentlemen. All of these teams that you see in front of you are going to play in a best of 5 series. First to 3 wins to advance officially to the Stanley Cup playoffs. This is considered the qualifying round by the NHL. You do all this work to get ready, show up to the bubble, and you lose this first round series. Thanks for coming. You're out, and the other teams advance to the Stanley Cup playoffs. So let's go through these qualifying round matchups where, like I said before, things get really interesting. Out in the Western Conference, you have a clash of 2 Canadian squads, Calgary against Winnipeg, Vancouver taking on Minnesota, Nashville against Arizona, and the Edmonton Oilers facing the Chicago Blackhawks for the first time in the postseason since 1992. Over in the East, the Toronto Maple Leafs, who I guess will have home advantage, whatever you want to call it. They're taking on the Columbus Blue Jackets, the New York Islanders facing off against the Florida Panthers, the Carolina Hurricanes, and the New York Rangers. That'll be a great one. Can't wait to watch that series. But lastly, most importantly, the Pittsburgh Penguins will be taking on the Montreal Canadiens. That is Pittsburgh's matchup for this qualifying round. Pittsburgh had the best record of all of the teams that made it to the qualifying round, or you could say the best record of teams that just missed out on that top 4 round robin stage with the likes of Philadelphia, Washington, and Boston. So Pittsburgh has the best record, but once again, if they lose those first 3 games or lose 3 games before they can beat Montreal 3 times, they're out and they're going home. Pittsburgh wants to make sure that doesn't happen as they try and charge towards their 6th Stanley Cup championship of all time. And for that matter, 3rd in the past 5 years. Pittsburgh will be kicking things off whenever the NHL gets back to play on Saturday, August 1st. There will be some games earlier in the afternoon, but the Penguins are in prime time against Carey Price and the Montreal Canadiens on NBC. The rest of the series is going basically every other day with one exception. So from Saturday, August 1st to then Monday, followed by Wednesday. If necessary, you go Wednesday to Friday. And once again, if necessary, that decisive Game 5 will actually be played on no day's rest from Friday the 7th right to Saturday, August 8th. All of those first 3 games will be played, once again, right in prime time, 8 p.m. You can watch those on NBC Sports family of networks, or, of course, on AT&T Sports Network, if that is included in your local cable network. Now, the Pittsburgh Penguins, I mean, that season, it ended back in March, or was put to a stop back in March. I mean, a lot has, gone on since then. It's kind of got to scratch your head and try and remember what the heck happened this past season. Well, we have those answers for you, ladies and gentlemen, because we're going to now take a look back at some of the storylines, important storylines from the Pittsburgh Penguins this past season to sort of refresh your memory as we resume play here coming up this Saturday. Starting with, as I mentioned before, Pittsburgh had a great record in the regular season, 40, 23, and 6 before the stoppage. That puts them 7th overall in the NHL, but right outside that bubble to the round robin. However, Pittsburgh was sort of stumbling down the stretch. Right before the stoppage, they went 3-7-0 in their last 10 games. That is the worst record of all the teams that made it to the bubble, of all the 24 teams. So who knows how the Penguins are going to respond after all that time off. I think they will be able to bounce back quite well. Now, one of the reasons that Pittsburgh's success, those 40 wins and finishing with the 7th best record in the NHL, was so impressive was that they lost so many players to injury. And I know you fans out there in northeastern Pennsylvania, you don't need me to tell you this. You know this refrain all too often, but this season was particularly crazy. 291 total man games lost to injury. That was the 3rd most in the NHL. And a bunch of, stat heads, stat geeks out there on the internet have been able to calculate what team lost the most salary cap based on their man games lost this season. The Pittsburgh Penguins lost almost $10 million in aggregate with players missing the lineup due to injury this season. That was number 1 overall in the entire NHL. Thankfully, with all those players getting hurt, someone had to step up, and one of those guys was Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins product, Bryan Rust, who had a huge year, breakout season, a career-best 27 goals, which led all Pittsburgh Penguins this season. And, well, Bryan Rust was actually one of those guys who ended up banged up and on the injured list throughout the season. Limited to only 55 games, no player in the NHL had more goals than Bryan Rust in 55 or fewer games. So an impressive year for Bryan Rust, and an impressive outing as well for another Wilkes-Barre Scranton alum, Tristan Jarry, in net, stepping up in a big way, his first full season in the National Hockey League after he was cash money between the pipes for Wilkes-Barre Scranton last year. He was named an NHL All-Star for his work up in the Steel City this season. He also finished top 10 in save percentage and goals against average at the time of the stoppage as well. And you also have, remember, Matt Murray still in net for the Pittsburgh Penguins as well. So quite a formidable two-headed monster in net, one of the best goaltending duos, if not the best goaltending duo available to the teams that made it to the 24-team tournament taking place in either Toronto or Edmonton throughout the rest of this NHL postseason. But the Pittsburgh Penguins, once again, they were able to survive throughout a bunch of injuries this season. It was great to see guys like Tristan Jarry and Bryan Rust step up in a big way. But with all teams that want to win the Stanley Cup, they're really going for it and pushing hard at the NHL trade deadline. And this season was no exception for Pittsburgh. A reminder to you fans out there what moves Pittsburgh made right before the trade deadline, because these guys only got into a handful of games before the stoppage. The real headline acquisition by the Penguins, made in fact a few days before the actual trade deadline, was acquiring Jason Zucker from Minnesota, and he fit in snugly with Pittsburgh right in the top 6. They gave up Alex Galchenyuk and prospect Kalen Addison for Zucker, along with a conditional first-round draft pick. If Pittsburgh can win this first-round series against Montreal and make it to the Stanley Cup playoffs, Minnesota gets Pittsburgh's first-round pick. If Pittsburgh gets eliminated, well, that first-round pick will roll over to 2021. Furthermore, every team wants a little extra motivation to try and hoist Lord Stanley, so get a guy on your squad who's probably going to the Hall of Fame but doesn't have a ring on his finger yet. That would be Patrick Marleau, acquired by the Pittsburgh Penguins from the San Jose Sharks for another conditional draft pick. Patrick Marleau suited up for only a few games for Pittsburgh. His only games played not with the San Jose Sharks in the NHL, trying to add some veteran savvy and, of course, some speed to this Pittsburgh lineup. And lastly, the return of a familiar face, another Wilkes-Barre Scranton alum, Connor Sherry, along with Evan Rodriguez, acquired from Buffalo in exchange for Dominic Cahoon. So Dominic Cahoon and Alex Galchenyuk, you won't see them playing for the black and gold at the upcoming restart for the NHL, but you will see Jason Zucker, Patrick Marleau, Connor Sherry, and Evan Rodriguez suiting up for the Pittsburgh Penguins as well. And among those guys I just said, you have Connor Sherry, the Wilkes-Barre Scranton alum, plenty of other Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins products that Pittsburgh took with them to the bubble out in Toronto. In fact, 19 total alum of the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins are among the roster that the Pittsburgh Penguins took up there. That's an absolutely fantastic number. I mean, it's old hat at this point. I mean, we all know what Wilkes-Barre Scranton means to Pittsburgh's success at the NHL level, but it just continues to roll and roll season after season. 7 of those 19 guys actually played in Northeastern Pennsylvania this year. You got 2 goalies, Casey DeSmith and Emil Lodby, Kevin Churchman and Pierre-Olivier Joseph on the blue line, and 3 forwards, Anthony Angelo, Sam Lafferty, and Phil Verone, who got acquired by the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins late there in the regular season before the stoppage. Now, it's an expanded roster for the NHL, so it's unknown how many of those guys are actually going to get into the lineup for the Pittsburgh Penguins. It might take some, a domino effect of injuries for some of those guys to see the ice, but I wouldn't be shocked to see Sam Lafferty get in for Pittsburgh. Same thing with Anthony Angelo. People were raving about their performance in the Phase 3 training camp that Pittsburgh was running out at their practice facility, the UPMC Sportsplex out in Cranberry, PA. People talking Sam Lafferty's speed. He might be the fastest guy on the team right now. You can tell he was doing his squats and exercises during the stoppage. He's ready, motivated, and we've seen that happen before with Wilkes-Barre Scranton talent going up to Pittsburgh and aiding them winning Stanley Cups in 2016 and 2017. What I mean is, when Pittsburgh was trying to win those cups and ultimately did, a lot of people talked about the energy, just the exuberance that the call-ups from the American Hockey League provided to their NHL club. There was a big wave in 2016 that helped push Pittsburgh all the way to the mountaintop. And then in 2017, a few more guys coming up like Josh Archibald, Carter Rowney, and of course, Jake Gensel, providing that extra energy that allowed Pittsburgh to, capture back-to-back Stanley Cups, the only time it's ever happened in the salary cap era. I wouldn't be surprised to see some young, youthful players in Wilkes-Barre Scranton, recent Wilkes-Barre Scranton players, make that same sort of contribution to Pittsburgh this season. Lafferty, Angelo, or even guys that didn't necessarily play in Wilkes-Barre Scranton this season, but aren't too far removed from their time in the American Hockey League. Teddy Bluger was great in his first full season in the American Hockey League. And don't forget about the all-star Tristan Jarry as well, if Mike Sullivan gives him the tap on the shoulder to go between the pipes and perhaps lead the Pittsburgh Penguins to the promised land. So that's really the update, the roundup of what happened with the Pittsburgh Penguins this season, and perhaps what young guys, Wilkes-Barre Scranton alum, can make an impact for Pittsburgh at the upcoming return to play, that qualifying round against the Montreal Canadiens. Once again, that series starting on Saturday, August 1st. You can watch it at 8 p.m. on NBC. Primetime, baby. Then Game 2 will be on NBCSN and AT&T Sports Network. Game 3, NBCSN and AT&T Sports Network as well. All 3 of those first games taking place at 8 p.m. And then, if necessary, Friday, August 7th, Sidney Crosby's birthday, and a decisive Game 5, who knows, taking place on Saturday, August 8th, of course, if necessary. The series could always end before that as well. And here's some exciting news for you Penguins fans as well that I'm happy to tell you about. Yes, we're thrilled that we can do this sort of return to play special and update you on what is going on, what are the rules, what happened with Pittsburgh before the stoppage, how are they looking going into it. We're going to be dissecting this matchup against the Montreal Canadiens a little bit more in depth in our upcoming pregame shows. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, right here on the Penguins social media pages, just like the video you're watching right now, we're going to have some fun with pregame shows before every one of those Penguins games against the Montreal Canadiens and moving forward throughout the postseason as the Pittsburgh Penguins try and climb the ladder back to the top of the mountaintop and hoist the Stanley Cup. So keep an eye out for that on the Penguins social media pages, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we're going to have some fun with those and, of course, get pumped up for all those Penguins games before preview shows, pregame shows coming your way throughout the rest of the Pittsburgh Penguins run throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs. And furthermore, there's still plenty of other action happening for you Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins fans. Those of you that are used to tuning in on these pages right now on a Thursday night, normally you're watching from the vault. Well, we had to sort of bump that just for me to massage my ego, but From the Vault is not canceled. We just moved it to tomorrow night at 7 p.m. So watch a great game from Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins Pass tomorrow at 7 p.m. And that will continue throughout the rest of the Stanley Cup playoffs as well, as long as there's not some sort of conflict with the Pittsburgh Penguins game. In that case, we'll just shift the date of From the Vault around just like we did this week. But once again, From the Vault tomorrow at 7 p.m. and then throughout the rest of the NHL postseason as well. Furthermore, we have 2 more Breaking the Ice events on the Dash online auction app. We've been able to do some really cool stuff with Dash over the past 2 seasons. And, of course, throughout this stoppage, keeping you fans engaged and ended up with some really cool merch. 2 more Breaking the Ice events on Dash. They go on sale this Saturday, same day that the Pittsburgh Penguins return to play against the Montreal Canadiens. But you can check them out right now. So you can sort of get a feel for what's up there with those Breaking the Ice events on Dash. Just log on to Dash App, that's dashapp.io/fans. That's where you can find these Breaking the Ice events, Dash Online. Once again, they go on sale Saturday, but you can check them out right now. Also, speaking of right now, available right now are Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins masks, so you can rep the black and gold, support the team, show your Penguins pride whenever you're out at the grocery store or trying to practice all of the necessary steps you need to do in this strange age of coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it. You can now get those Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins masks, and you can find them on the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins online shop. Just go to WBSpenguins.com. You know the drill at this point, ladies and gentlemen. But really excited to get those up and running for you folks out there. We already got a ton of orders coming in, so make sure you get yours for those Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins masks. Now, let's loop back for a quick second here and talk about the tournament that's taking place in Toronto and Edmonton. As I said before, this is a 24-team extravaganza. Many of you keen hockey fans will recognize that there are currently 31 teams in the NHL. You would be correct, and that means that not everyone is going to the bubble. Not everyone gets to participate in this chance at the cup. 7 teams missed the cut this season. These are the teams that didn't do well enough in the regular season based on winning percentage, point percentage, and they missed the cut. 3 teams in the Western Conference, Anaheim, Los Angeles, and San Jose. In the Eastern Conference, Buffalo, who just missed the cut. Detroit, who had the worst record in the league. New Jersey, and the Ottawa Senators. All was not lost for these teams. They at least thought they got the consolation prize of getting the best odds in the upcoming, or I guess the previous NHL draft lottery for the upcoming NHL entry draft, which obviously had to be delayed with the circumstances this summer. The NHL hosted the first part of their draft lottery a couple of weeks ago, but the first 3 picks get lotteried off, and we saw the Ottawa Senators get the 3rd overall pick. The Los Angeles Kings win the 2nd overall pick, but the 1st overall pick, well, there was a little wrinkle that the NHL threw in here, and none of these 7 teams won the 1st overall pick. The NHL also made it possible that a losing team from the qualifying round could win a lottery pick, and that's exactly what happened with 1st overall. So here we see the qualifying round matchups once again. Ladies and gentlemen, one of these teams that loses is going to win the 1st overall pick and presumably select Alexis Lafreniere at the upcoming NHL entry draft, whenever that ultimately takes place. So if Pittsburgh loses to Montreal, they'll be entered into the lottery to win first overall. If Nashville loses to Arizona, Nashville has a chance at first overall. We don't know who has the first overall pick right now. It belongs to one of these teams. It'll be lotteried off between the losers of the qualifying round. So some serious ramifications taking place in this qualifying round. You either win and advance to the Stanley Cup playoffs, or you lose, and now you might be picking first overall the upcoming NHL entry draft. Just absolutely wacky and wild stuff here. It's going to be exciting, certainly unique, certainly different, but that just adds to the excitement, ladies and gentlemen. Now you can see some of these key dates for the upcoming return to play. Of course, the qualifying games all begin this upcoming Saturday, August 1st. Once the qualifying round games are wrapped up, the NHL has the official first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs slated for August 11th. The second round tentatively targeted for August 25th. Conference finals on September 8th, the Stanley Cup final on September 22nd. All of those sort of subject to change based on how quickly or how long the series go. But we do know that we will not be playing hockey beyond October 4th. That is the last possible date that a Stanley Cup final game could be scheduled. So from Saturday, August 1st, up until possibly October 4th, you're going to get plenty of hockey, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be on TV constantly. You're finally going to get that fix that you've been missing for so long. Before we sign off here on our Return to Play online special here with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, got to update you fans on an announcement that the American Hockey League made earlier this evening. We're talking about important dates. The AHL has officially pushed back the start of the 2020-21 season. Normally we see play resume in October. The AHL made the official announcement that the AHL will not begin no sooner than December 4th. So you're not going to see American Hockey League action anytime before December 4th. The American Hockey League sort of following in the footsteps of the NHL's plan for the 2020-21 season. So just throwing that out there. But we're still going to have hockey in the meantime with this unique and unprecedented tournament for the Stanley Cup. Once again, let's look at the Pittsburgh Penguins schedule as they begin this best-of-5 series to try and advance against the Montreal Canadiens. The first game taking place this Saturday, August 1st at 8 p.m., and we will have a pregame show for you folks right here on the Penguins social media pages, live on Facebook, on YouTube. You know the drill. Also, make sure to follow the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins on social media throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs, qualifying round, and beyond. You know, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that jazz. We got you covered. So, unfortunately, the American Hockey League not doing this bubble restart like the NHL, but we still have you crazy hockey fans ready to go with everything you could possibly need throughout this, what promises to be an extremely exciting playoff run. Certainly unique. It's going to be like nothing we've ever seen before, and that just adds to the intensity and certainly how anxious I am to just get this thing going. So we'll see you on Saturday, ladies and gentlemen. Check back on these pages because we're going to be going live with a pregame show before the Pittsburgh Penguins take on the Montreal Canadiens in that first game of the qualifying round, Saturday, August 1st. And then we're off to the races, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you to tuning in to our Return to Play online special. Hope we answered a lot of questions that you had, clarified some confusing details that you may have been racking around in your brain leading up to this restart that's coming up this weekend. Thanks again for tuning in. We always appreciate you Penguins fans, and you're always looking for that new content, and we're happy to give it to you. This is fun. This is fun, and we're going to have more fun throughout this playoff run. So thanks again for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. Happy hockey, everyone, and let's go Pens.